Since becoming leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Pierre Poilievre has faced a lot of criticism, and most of it pretty unfounded in my opinion. But there has been a line of questioning raised by the Toronto Star that I do think is worth reflecting on. The Toronto Star published an op-ed from the Executive Director of Canadians for Tax Fairness asking what Pierre Poilievre is going to do to stand up for the middle class and push back against elites if he's unwilling to introduce new taxes. From this point of view, taxes are the main way that we stand up for the middle class through public policy. And I'm sympathetic to that argument to some degree. For example, multinational corporations benefited a lot during the pandemic from policies that shut down small and medium-sized businesses. It makes sense to me to tax those corporations that profited off of a skewed economy during pandemic lockdowns. But taking taxes aside, I think it's important to note that this is liberal orthodoxy. The idea that there's only one way that you could stand up for the middle class and push back against elites. The truth is it's much more complicated. And Pierre Poilievre has ideas on how to do that. He has ideas on how to fight for the middle class. Many of them are about stepping up against overregulation, stopping the overregulation of our businesses, of our lives. And that is something that is important for middle class families too. Take a few examples, for instance. Pierre Poilievre opposes Justin Trudeau's internet censorship agenda, which has brought Bill C-11 to the Senate currently for a vote. That bill, if passed, would give Ottawa bureaucrats more control over what middle-class families can say on the internet and might actually change the political expression of the middle class when it's out of sync with Ottawa elites. That's pretty important. Another idea of Pierre Poilievre's is to do more for immigrant workers. Many immigrants are qualified and trained to practice in their fields in Canada, but go through so much red tape and bureaucracy they never get the chance to live up to their potential and realize their dreams in this country. Pierre Poilievre wants to introduce a 60-day waiting period where it cannot take longer than that to give an immigrant worker an answer. And if an immigrant worker is going to be given the chance to apply for a license and accreditation, it must be based on his or her skills that they're trained in, as opposed to being based on what country they're from. That's another example of fighting for the middle class. Or how about this? Justin Trudeau's war on climate change is very similar to the war on drugs. He's so fixated on a certain outcome, on a certain issue, he has no regard for how reducing carbon emissions to this scale might impact middle-class families by driving up the cost of living and reducing jobs. Pierre Poilievre wants to change that, to fight climate change with a human-centered point of view. Now, my point here isn't to say that Pierre Poilievre is perfect. Sure, he's got work to do. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed if we're going to do right by the middle class in Canada. However, to limit the conversation purely to taxes is missing so much of the bigger picture. Pierre Poilievre can fight for the middle class without introducing new taxes, and it's on him to prove it.